Hello everybody, Donnie here with Family Tales. I hope everybody is doing well today. Here we discuss real stories by real people regarding family drama, bridezilla, and so forth, relationship-based stories. So I hope you enjoy, and if you do like these Reddit stories, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button and the notification bell. So getting started with the first story, it reads, I, 41 male, my wife, 41 female, kissed another man on a night out. I wasn't bothered, but now she's making issues over it. So it sounds pretty interesting. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom she is dead to me if she mentors my bully? Original post. So my 16 male, mom 40s is a teacher at my school. Our school has a special elective that you can take, which is a teacher's aide during your elective period. It's mostly stuff like grading papers for them, making copies, mentoring, etc. It's pretty much always just the teacher's favorite student at the time. I found out at the beginning of the semester that my mom chose Dave, 17 male, to be her TA. Dave has made my life a living nightmare since middle school. He has bullied me mercilessly, both physically and emotionally, since the 6th grade. I don't want to get into everything he's done to me, but everyone is fully aware of it, including the school and my parents. There have been countless meetings with school administration and suspensions on his end, but it never stopped him. Since we've been in high school, I haven't had to see him as much, which is a relief, but the times that I do are always terrible. When I found out that he was her new TA, I was obviously very hurt and confused. I asked her why she would want to spend extra time with someone who made my life so terrible. She said that she had him in one of her classes and that he really isn't such a bad kid, but he has a really terrible home life that she can't tell me about that makes him act out. For the record, my mom has always had a soft spot for kids who come from bad homes. I reminded her of all the things that he's done to me, and she said that she understands, but he really needs help right now. I told her I get that, but why does it have to be you? We have a huge school full of teachers and staff who can mentor him. Why does it have to be you? She told me to stop being selfish, and some kids have it harder than I can imagine, and she's just trying to help. I was honest with her and told her that if she continued to have him as her aide, she was dead to me. She was choosing him over me, and she would no longer be my mother. I would no longer talk to her, and the minute that I turned 18, I was moving out, and she would never hear from me again. She rolled her eyes and said I was being dramatic, but after a couple of days of ignoring her, I was grounded. It didn't change my mind, and my dad then tried to force me to talk to her. I still refused, so they pretty much took everything away from me one by one for the past few weeks. I no longer have my car, computer, guitar, and most recently my art supplies, and I have to come home from school and go straight to my room, and I'm not allowed out except dinner until I start talking to her again. They don't realize that this is just strengthening my resolve. I'm going to sit in this empty room every day silently until I'm 18, and they'll never see me again. My mom keeps coming in crying and begging me to talk to her, which makes me kind of feel bad, but she still won't remove Dave as her aide. Am I taking this too far? I just feel so betrayed. Now for the comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. If my mother would have done that to me or one of my brothers, we would have treated her like a traitor. She puts her savior complex on, or whatever, this is over your mental health. She is, in addition to that, disloyal to your family, you. Just ignore her and organize your life. Do good in school and leave her behind when you are old enough and independent. I cannot even compute how people do this to their own blood. But here we are. I wish you the best. I couldn't figure out what was bugging me about this. It's the mom savior complex. You got it down perfectly. She wants to be the teacher who reformed her son's bully at the expense of her relationship with her son. Well, when it's finally shown that she's a bad parent and he bails at 18, she'll get her recognition. My mother-in-law did this to her kids. Always chose the other people's kids over hers. My husband grew up with all of his classmates gushing about how cool his mom was and how lucky he was to have her for a mom. He wanted to tell everyone what a colossal narcissistic bitch she was, but she would have lashed out at him, so he just tried to avoid her until he could move out. We cut her out of our lives shortly after we had a baby. He couldn't imagine letting her treat our kid the way that she treated him. Not the a-hole. I'm sure Dave has had a rough life, but it doesn't excuse his cruelty towards you. I would be extremely hurt if my mom sided with my bully. Your mom should ask one of her colleagues to take him on as an aide, and then tell Dave that given his prior history with you, it is no longer appropriate for him to be her aide. I'm sorry I stopped answering everyone's questions. I just kind of freaked out when this blew up out of nowhere, and I almost deleted it a few times because I was scared someone at school would see it and recognize me. Everyone letting me know that it's not my fault helped a lot though, so I feel less embarrassed about someone I know potentially seeing it. Nothing has really changed, but a lot of you made a good point that if I'm really going to go this route, then I need to come up with a plan for what I'm going to do when I get out. I considered the military like some people suggested, but then I remembered my school has a special trade program. You go to our school for half the day, then spend the other half at our local community college taking trade classes. I think depending on what you're doing, you can get an associate's degree or whatever certifications you need by the time that you graduate. I went to my guidance counselor during lunch today and told her I wanted to switch to that program. She acted really surprised and asked why did I want to change now since I'm already taking AP classes and I'm on the college track. I told her I didn't want to talk about it, but I would need to be ready for independence when I graduated, and this seemed like the best way. She said it might be too late to change this semester, but she would look into it for me and let me know. Now for the full update. Update to everyone who said my mom was sleeping with Dave. You were right. Oh my gosh. Just kidding. Y'all are weirdos and watch too much porn. Boy, I'm glad he was. A lot has actually happened since last week, and while nothing is really fixed, I think things are going in the right direction. On Friday, I got called out of class to the guidance counselor. When I got there, my mom and the assistant principal were there as well. The counselor asked me to sit down and said that me changing tracks from college to a trade, like I mentioned in my last post, was a big decision. And she wanted to sit down with my mom and me to figure it out if this really was the best thing for my future. She first asked me if I would fully explain why I wanted to switch. I explained the whole situation from my perspective and about how I was being punished. I said that if this is how I was going to be treated from now on, I wanted to become independent as soon as possible and go to college would have me relying on my parents for longer than I would like. She then asked my mom if she had anything that she would like to add. My mom tried to downplay the whole situation at first and made it look like I was just being stubborn and disrespectful, but as the counselor asked her more questions, it became pretty clear that my side was true. After this, the AP stepped in and said that a teacher's aide was not worth all of this turmoil and that Dave would be switched with another teacher. The counselor then asked me if this would help me start working things out with my mom. I said I'm not really because it wasn't even her choice and she hasn't even admitted that she's done anything wrong. She then asked my mom if she was willing to apologize for anything that happened. My mom gave a half-hearted apology where she said things had gone overboard and she never meant to hurt me so much. The counselor asked if I would like to apologize for anything as well, and I said not really, but nobody pressed me on it. The counselor then said about my transfer. It was too late for this semester. What she suggested is that my mom and I and possibly my dad go to a family counselor for the rest of the semester. I would stay in my current classes, my parents would give me all my stuff back, and we could see if we can come to some kind of peace before next semester. She then asked my mom that if after that I still hadn't changed my mind, would she accept the class changes? My mom said no at first because she wanted me to go to college, but I told her that she had already failed me as a mother once. Please don't do it again. She got really quiet and said that she would agree to it if that was what I really wanted. When I got home, all my stuff was returned to me. I also started talking to my mom again. I just kind of felt like there wasn't a point to ignoring her anymore. I don't treat her like a mother or anything anymore, but I'll answer her if she asks me a question. It just feels like that now that I have a plan, a lot of my anger is gone and I just see her as a person who happens to live in my house. We haven't scheduled our first counseling session yet, but I don't see it changing much anyway. The damage is done, so I don't see myself changing my mind. That's pretty much it. I probably won't update again unless something crazy happens or something. Thank you to everyone who gave me good advice. Story 2. Update. My parents tried to screw over my dying stepmother, blew up all of our lives instead. Original post, throwaway for obvious reasons. My 17 female stepmother Jane is a wonderful, wonderful woman. She and my father got married when I was 4. She's been my rock in my life ever since. My mother was always my primary caregiver, but up until that point, her relationship with my father was acrimonious, and I basically never saw him. Jane was the reason they developed a stable co-parenting relationship. She encouraged everyone having a good relationship with each other and was always there to support me and my mom when things got rough. Jane was always a really hard worker. When she met my dad, he was living out of a hotel and my mother was doing everything in her power to keep me away from him because she was petty and angry that their relationship didn't work out. Meanwhile, Jane had a great job, a nice house, helped my dad get back on his feet, negotiated a visitation schedule with my mom, who hated her for a long time, and made sure my dad sent us money every week because neither one of them could afford an attorney to negotiate child support payments. Jane had no reason to do any of these things, but as I got older, she made it clear that she loved me as much as she loved my half-brothers, who were born a few years later. I even had my own room in her house because at the time we lived with my grandparents, various boyfriends of my mom, and Jane felt like I needed a more stable environment than that. She likes the opposite of the evil stepmom. When I was 15, Jane won a big lawsuit against an airline company and got awarded upwards of $1 million. She used the money to build sizable trust funds for me and my brothers so that we would be able to take care of later in life. Despite having a lot more money, she still wanted to live a fairly modest life, so she paid off the house she has and has been living there ever since with my dad. Sure, she bought a new car and they went on a few nice vacations, but she didn't blow all of her money on stupid things, which I respected. About a year ago, things started getting really weird. Whenever I saw Jane, she seemed to look sicker and sicker, but no one would tell me or my brothers why, even though I know they knew. All we knew is that she was at the hospital a lot. Around the same time, my mom has been coming around my dad a lot more and acting really strange. Basically like she was trying to romance him. Whenever Jane was in the hospital, my mother would insist on spending the night at their house and playing mom to my brothers, which was so weird to me because she never liked them or Jane. She'd be the perfect little housewife, and my mom is not like that at all. It was super fake. Worst of all, my dad started falling for it. I'm not stupid. I'm pretty sure they were sleeping together. I tried to shield my brothers from it, but they're not dumb either. I tried talking to my dad too, but he insisted it wasn't like that. Then a few weeks ago, my mom started talking about all the places that she'd like to visit, how she wanted a new car and was looking to invest. Which is weird because my mom has been a bartender her whole life and has lived paycheck to paycheck since before I was born. She has been acting like she was about to get a lot of money, which started to make me really suspicious. Between Jane being sick and my mom acting all nauvoo rich, I've had a lot of questions. Finally, I decided to visit Jane in the hospital and ask her about my trust fund. I found out that if anything happened to her, that my dad would inherit all the money, including full control of the trust from me and my brothers. She asked me why I was so interested in the trust fund, so I told her what's going on with my parents and how my mom has been acting with my dad. I didn't want to, but after everything she did for me, she deserved the truth. It really hurt me to break her heart like that, especially once I found out that she was basically in hospice at this point because of irreversible kidney failure. She's only got a few more months. We both cried so much. Then 2 days ago, everything came to a head. My mom stormed in furious and started arguing with my dad. Apparently, Jane met with her lawyer and changed the trust so that my dad would get nothing and all the trust would be controlled by my step-aunt. She demanded to know how Jane found out about their relationship, and I came out and told them that I told Jane everything. I told them that if they wanted to play stupid games, they would win stupid prizes, and that I wasn't going to let them screw Jane over after all the help that she has given my family when she didn't have to. My mom slapped me, and my dad just looked so defeated. Then my mom told my dad that she didn't really love him and that she was just pretending to so that he would marry her and she would get all of the money. The worst part about it is that my brothers witnessed the whole thing, and now on top of their mom dying, they have to deal with a cheating dad and his vindictive ex. Our whole family is in ruins, and I feel like it's my fault even though I know it's not. Yesterday, I visited Jane again and told her about the fallout. She apologized and said that she had to dissolve my trust fund and to make sure that my mother didn't get a hold of the money, but that as her oldest, I will inherit the house property after she is gone, and that's worth more than the other 2 trust funds combined. My father won't get anything because she's going to divorce him before she dies, and honestly, I'm happy for her. She made me promise to take care of my brothers and told me that once I turn 18 this summer, I can kick my dad out of the house if I want to, and I fully plan to do that, by the way. I haven't talked to my dad since, and I can't even look at my mom. I can't believe that they would conspire to do this to Jane after all this time. Just proof that they deserve each other, and I'm embarrassed that they're my parents. Once I turn 18, I'm going to cut my dad out as much as I can and cut my mom out completely. I hope she rots. Meanwhile, I'm going to try and be at the hospital as much as I can until Jane passes away. Anyway, I just needed to vent. I'm really messed up about the whole thing, and I feel super betrayed. Although I can't even begin to imagine how Jane feels. I'm going to be so effed up when she dies, I can't even think about that right now. But at least she's not surrounded by people who just want to bring her down. Thanks for reading. Edit. Some people are asking a lot of the same stuff, so I'll just clarify here. My brothers. The plan is to use some of the estate money for guardianship for my twin brothers so that they can live in the house while I kick my dad out. If I can't get guardianship, then I will have to let my dad stay in the house. However, once I turn 18, I will technically be an adult, so even if my dad leaves, I'm still legally able to be responsible for them. The only thing that I won't be able to do is stop him from taking them if he leaves. But they will be 18 in 6 years, so even if they do have to leave, they will always be able to come back whenever they want to. In a perfect world, my dad would just leave and let my brother stay with me, which I'm sure my bio mom would be very supportive of because right now she hates all of us, and I doubt that that will change anytime soon. The trust. From what I understand, my brothers will inherit 1/3 each of the estate, and the remaining 1/3 will be used to keep the house running until they turn 18. After that, it will be up to me if I want to keep the house or sell it. At that point, my brothers will still have money left in the trust so they can branch out and do whatever they want. Otherwise, I will not sell the house and just pass it on to them or keep it and maintain it myself, and they can just stay with me as long as they need to. Edit to edit. So I just spoke to Jan, and she told me that the reason she dissolved the trust is because originally it was going to be split 3 times between us kids, and my dad would inherit the house. She dissolved my third and switched it over to make sure to take care of the house maintenance and instead put the house in my name so my dad would not get it. Plus, by doing that, at least financially, I would be getting a much bigger share. The house is worth about 1.5 times the amount of my brother's trust. I just wouldn't be able to do anything with it until my brothers are 18, which I'm totally cool with. Sorry if I don't have a better answer, but I'm just trying to translate what she told me. My parents. The big fight happened on Sunday, and I haven't spoken to either of my parents since. I think they're both at my mom's place right now, but that's fine with us because we're all still mad at them, so they can stay gone for all we care. I know technically that's not legal to just leave us alone, but I've been taking care of my brothers for over a year, and I can handle a few days while he gets his crap together. Screw both of them. Hope that clears some stuff up. Now for the update. Hi, guys, it's me again. A lot of you asked me for an update on my situation with Jane and my family, so I've come back with a few things that have happened since I initially posted. I will try to organize this in a way that addresses the major points of last time. Jane is still alive and doing surprisingly well considering the circumstances. She's always been a fighter, and although her disease has been progressing, she keeps a positive attitude with everything that's going on. She says that she's grateful that she was able to see everyone's true colors before she passed so she could go into the next life knowing the truth. We have become so unbelievably close in the past few months, and it's getting harder and harder to know that she's getting close to the end. She doesn't ever talk about it though, and I know it's because she doesn't want to hurt me, but we both know the situation. So we're just making the best of our time. I'm also not being completely transparent about all the drama at home, but to be honest, I don't think she needs to hear all of that. We did end up having that surprise celebration of life that I planned. A lot more people showed up than I thought, but they all got an Airbnb near the hospital where Jane is, and we were able to take her out and spend some time at the lake near the facility. It was super low key, which I know Jane preferred, and I was even able to get her old college friend to come over after I found him on LinkedIn, LOL. We had food and there was music and we played games, and it was overall a really great time, except Jane started crying at the end, but she promised me it was just because she was grateful. My brothers are also doing okay. My aunt, Jane's sister, is currently paying for them to go to therapy, and they've become a lot more open about talking about the situation. They just turned 13, but a lot of the time it feels like I'm talking to actual adults, LOL. They've become really independent lately, in a good way. And aside from me driving them places, I don't really have to do much for them anymore. Their grades aren't super great, but they're not failing, and considering the circumstances, it could be a lot worse. They still hang out with friends, and I'm keeping an eye out for depression symptoms and stuff like that. The situation with my mom is as funny as it's embarrassing, to be honest. She spent a few weeks ignoring us, and then she tried to crawl back into my life, basically begging me to let her move in because her lease is about to expire and she has nowhere to go. That convo went about as well as you'd think, and she ended up calling me an ungrateful B, and that I just couldn't ignore her because she's my mom. I told her to get out of the house before I call the cops, and to go back to my dad, who at that point was only coming home every few days to check on us and grab some clothes. After that, she tried coming by a few times, and when I wouldn't open the door, she would lose her mind and start yelling through the neighborhood. After 3 instances of this, I finally called the cops because at 17, they told me there's a possibility that I would have to go home with her since technically I'm a minor and need to be with a custodial parent. I told them no way because I was the only one watching my brother's ATM. That led to a whole thing where after a few hours, my dad basically showed up and I was allowed to stay there because there was finally an adult present, and I'd basically lived there for over a year. After that, the cops firmly told my mom that if she keeps showing up and causing drama, my neighbors confirmed that she'd been there a few times screaming, that they would arrest her for trespassing since technically it was Jane's house and not hers. She left and hasn't tried coming to the house anymore, but for a while, she would call me constantly telling me that I owed her and all kinds of stuff. She's now blocked on everything, and anything that she needs to say to me gets filtered through to my dad. As for my dad, well, he's basically required to be here for 2 months until I turn 18. We've basically just avoided each other. It's not too bad though, because I've been heavily relying on guilting him for everything to get my way. For example, he was going to contest the divorce, but I threatened to kick him out when I turn 18 if he does that, so he just signed all the paperwork for a quickie divorce and is basically doing whatever Jane tells him to do. I don't openly disrespect him or anything, he's still my dad, but I've made it clear that I have no intentions on doing anything he ever says again, and he doesn't fight me on it. Most of the time he's just in his room, and sometimes he'll go back to my mom's only for about a day or two before they argue and she kicks him out again, LOL. I haven't decided whether or not I'll kick him out yet, and we haven't talked about it either, so I'm kind of playing it by ear. As for me, I'm handling everything as good as I can. I found a new job where I make a little more money, so I've been focusing on saving as much as I can and just being there for my brothers. Between working in school and visiting Jane, I've been so busy. I haven't really had time to really stop and think about everything, but I know it'll come. One of my friends has really stepped up and helped me manage everything, and I'm super grateful to him for being there for me and my brothers. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, I wish I had something more exciting to share, but that's what's happened since my last post. Thanks again for all the support on my last post. That's all for today. If you're enjoying this story, please like the video and share your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you.